Hey guys, Will from Nexus Performance here with Jamie from Strength Culture. We're coming to you from San Fran, inland of San Fran, where where Record Breakers is being held. From our Airbnb, this is my bed, the master bed here. Jamie's up in the corner in his little bed, but he has got a great chair.
I've actually got a whole house on that side.
He has got a great chair though. Yeah. But we're here to talk about the comp prep that I've been through in our time here in America, which has obviously not been how I would usually like to prep. But some of the things that have been difficult, what we've overcome, and I'm sure we'll get into some other topics. So, first of all, would be just the prep before we got here. Just quickly, just to tell people, so we planned this trip a long time ago.
Yeah. Probably the very start of the year, I would say.
Yeah, and the prep was mainly based around the seminars that we're doing here, a little bit of holidaying, and this comp happened to fall in perfectly on the last weekend that we were here before we fly back. So it all kind of worked out really well, and it has worked out great. So what we did, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but we prepped probably as if the comp, we peaked a bit early. We peaked kind of almost in Australia.
Call it peak, but we definitely pushed.
Yeah, we pushed a lot harder than we did earlier in prep to make sure that we were getting some solid training in under some heavy loads before we came here. So we at 6 weeks out, 7 weeks out, we were hitting near maxes, which is not usually the way.
It was never really the plan. It just sort of, we came off. So I came on board maybe 8 weeks prior to leaving, and we just did two just general strength phases in that 5 to 6 rep range. Deadlifts were a little lower in the 4s, but we were just crushing work. And obviously, you going up a weight class helped, having just a surplus of calories and no real desire to hold yourself back on that front. And things were just going really, really well. And then we started hitting numbers, you were hitting PRs, your deadlift rep work was like 350 for 4, I think was the top we got to. 345 for 4. Your squats were flying, and they were feeling really good. You said yourself, psychologically, your 300 kilo barrier was sort of not there anymore. And you were just fuck, I'm just doing reps here.
Definitely. Squats have always been the most mentally challenging lift for me, as in to get under a bar. I've always been, I guess, just scared, kind of it's I don't know, for some reason heavy numbers on squats are a lot heavier than heavy numbers on deadlift for me.
So we'll just, and then obviously with the bench work, obviously myself coming from the natural IPF sort of category of coaching with a higher bench frequency, it was something that I wanted to try with you. And then we went to 3 days a week, and that was going really well. Your arm was holding up at the start. After we found out that there was a slight tear in the bicep from Pro Raw.
Tendon.
Yeah, more than likely. But more than likely previous. That was holding up really well. The shoulder was holding up, and just your body in general. And about 6 weeks in, I was like, holy shit, we're in a pretty good territory here. So then we had 3 weeks to hit some singles prior to leaving, and we just put the foot down and went, fuck it. So we hit a 370 in the final week. What did we hit?
Squat.
A 370 squat, 215 bench, and a 370 dead. Yeah,
and they were all really good. They were all great.
Yeah. And that was all within 3 days: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we left on the Thursday.
Yeah, and I honestly think that if we, did a deload and then hit a comp probably the following weekend, things would have went fantastic.
Stupidly good. Yeah.
That being said, I did know that I had 6 weeks here traveling around America and all the things that come with that. That were going to get in the way of this comp going the best it could. So yeah, I wasn't sure how it would go. If somebody asked me before I left, how do you think it's going to go? I'm I really don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. And that was, we kind of winged it a little bit on the road to try and make things work to some degree. So
what strategies did we employ once we got over here?
Well, the difficulties of prep, first of all, were just the different beds every night, the lack of sleep,
food.
The travel, traveling's up, food, just getting places because we don't have a car for the most
Far
part
more
of this.
Active.
Way more activity, especially New York there at the start.
Yeah.
Just gyms, getting to a gym with comp equipment has been an absolute nightmare.
I really thought that would have been easier over here, but
I expected it to be super easy. Like, America, land of the gyms and the crazy, but it's actually I think easier in Australia to find.
I think Zero, obviously, myself, Strength Culture. I think of like the Strength Fortress.
If we just go to Melbourne and just go fuck you.
Yeah, like all the PTCs, like they're specialised powerlifting gyms, and they have all of the equipment needed for their respective federations. Like we've got 2 combo racks, we've got 9 power bars, we've got probably 5,000 kilos of competition plates. Zero would have 10 times that amount for like 3 monos and all that sort of stuff.
3 monos.
Like there's these gyms over in Australia that the population might be smaller and the gyms are definitely smaller, but they're far more equipped with what they need. Over here, it's just you go to a powerlifting gym and it's like, oh yeah, we've got 1 tree of comp plates up to 260 kilos.
And also we're just like, there's been a lot of the times we've had to travel half an hour to get to the gym.
Not what I thought.
No, especially in the bigger cities like New York. But it was even difficult there. But anyway, we've done our best. But yeah, how we handled it, getting around that, some of the stuff kind of is impossible to handle, like the sleeping in different beds at Airbnbs, getting food. It's all been really difficult. But just eating as much as we can, such as good as we can, things like that. Got to the best gyms possible, but we did reduce training to just 3 days whilst here.
Yeah, so we were doing 4 days a week. Again, with the higher frequency bench press, we dropped that down to 2 days a week for bench, and then 1 day of squats,
so used to be
deads.
Squat, bench, deadlift, bench before, and also the extra deadlift a little bit on the deadlift day. Whereas now it has been squat, bench, deadlift.
Squat, really. Yeah. So we got a squat day, a bench press heavy day, and a deadlift heavy day, and then after the deadlift day, because it's generally the least taxing, we have our secondary bench, which has just been a tempo, a longer pause bench press, and all of that has been RPE based. We haven't really set our sights on specific numbers to hit. For those that follow Strength Culture, you know that we almost exclusively program in RPE, particularly with the guys who actually understand training and can act like an adult with their decision making. But RPE, I do believe, is the best route for somebody of your caliber. And in situations like this, I know they're rare. Not many people are going to do a comp prep off 6 weeks of travel prior, but RPE gives you at least the option to, all right, I can be flexible, I can manage the days I do my sessions. I know that if I did a heavy squat the day before, where normally I would have a 2-day break before my bench press, if it just so happens to be the next day, I can manage my loads accordingly, and I go in with the expectation that, all right, this might be a little bit reduced, but that's fine. It fits within the intensity that's prescribed, and we can still make progress.
There have been a lot of situations like that because if for the most part, if you look at the trip, it's been like week here, but it's not really like that. It's been like 4 or 5 days here, 2 days travel, next place. So like it's you're kind of jamming in those sessions into a short frame, which has made it again, it's another kind of hurdle that we've had to jump. But I think we've done pretty well with it all. The other thing was to mention that the accessories were almost pulled back to, well, literally nothing.
Close to nothing. There's been a few upper body stuff.
Just enough to keep this shoulder a bit happy. But as far as leg accessories, absolutely zero.
Walking.
And I think that's a lesson that people can use to show that when fatigue is high, training load should be accommodated for that.
Yeah, and it's not just fatigue in terms of training fatigue.
It's stress.
It's life stress. It's poor sleeping.
All this stuff that we talked about.
Yeah, nutrition is not on point. More walking, higher NEAT, all that sort of stuff. Reduction in body weight. I mean, we've lost like 6 kilos over here. I think it's starting to go back up because you're starting to snore more. So
great.
There was definitely an ebb of no snoring in the middle where we hit like 115 kilos body weight, but we're back up to about 118 now. The last few weeks of just shoveling food. Great. And that has increased the snoring rate, so that's a good barometer for success there.
RPE snoring.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that is all stress that we need to help manage, and we can reduce the training stress because we know that the life stress is so much higher than what we would expect in a normal, typical peak.
And more training wouldn't have been better.
No, fuck no.
It would have just been more fatigue, and then each week
more
fatigue.
We would have gone back.
More fatigue.
No.
And there has been times. So, like for example, my top singles haven't been overly consistent in the squat, where it went down one week and then back up the following week and things like that.
We're on a good little
we're good now.
trend at the moment. Yeah.
But for again, I think that's another great lesson to people, is that those top sets are affected a lot by what you've done in the last few days and general fatigue and stuff like that. And the triples that I was doing after them was still going up.
Yeah,
and so that's the main takeaway from that, is that, hey, things are still going forward. It's just that my ability to express the strength right now is a little bit shit, because we got 2 hours sleep the other night drinking in Alabama. I expect my squat to go down. Yeah. But I think that people
get fixated on that top single.
People think it needs to go up continuously, and the reality is that strength doesn't do that. Because strength goes up and down all around.
He's not squatting 700 kilos. Like it just doesn't work that way. It's not linear. Once you get out of that initial phase of learning, it's not even gaining. It's learning how to move.
It's peaking a skill.
It's never. So that expression, we use those singles, again, something that we teach, but we use those singles as a sort of like an indicator of how you're feeling on the day, and the day only. It's got no real direction or causality of what's happened with your previous training, because for whatever reason the single might be down. But in saying that, we've seen a nice little kick up, probably I would say since we got to Miami.
A bit more relaxed.
Miami, Arizona, and then now to here, where it has slowed down. The amount of external activity that we have been going through has reduced, and we've been a little bit more cognizant of how much food you're eating, and as a result,
just general stress being low too.
Yeah, as a result, we're starting to see that little increase again in that expression of skill. So in the last week, what have we hit? We hit a 360 dead.
Yep.
In Arizona, we hit a bench PB 220.
220 and the 370 squat, which was
an equal
bestest moved as well.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. So I think we're right there. I think we'll be in for a good day.
I hope so.
Yeah, we've got the weigh-ins tomorrow. For the 24-hour weigh-in over here in the SF. What is the federation?
SBF is
SBF.
For record breakers.
Yep.
And again, there are a couple of different rules that are slightly different in Australia, so that's another hurdle that we have to handle. But
no start calls, which is, I think, interesting, but fair enough.
Whatever, it shouldn't be that bad. But the only other point I had down here to talk about, really, about the prep itself, was just the peaking thing. Is that sometimes people think that out of a peak, that, and it's the same in bodybuilding and other sports as well, that get to here and then you're going to do a deload or a peak or whatever it is, and then you're going to be 10% stronger.
And you're going to have this diamond that you've never seen before just pop out. Bam!
This is going to be like, holy shit, I'm so much stronger. Where in reality,
no,
it doesn't exist. Hopefully you're a little bit stronger on comp day. That's the idea of the peak, because fatigue is going to be lower. With the idea of lowering volume through the final training block and deloading the week before a comp, that's going to lower fatigue as much as possible.
The fitness fatigue model being that fatigue masks fitness, and when you can reduce fatigue, you get an increase in fitness, quote unquote, strength in our example.
So hopefully performance is going to be up, but it's not going to be like, holy shit, I had an extra 50 kilos in my squat.
Yeah, no, you're not going to.
This prep is good. It shows people that I've managed to maintain all through this peak. I know, even though not optimal.
If not, we've increased. I reckon we've increased slightly. Yeah,
gone forward a bit for sure in certain aspects. But I just wanted to touch on that and just say to people that, hey,
there's no magic in the peak. I think the biggest benefit of a peak is the reduction in stress, as we've just talked about, reduction in fatigue, but also the psychological spike that you get from going into comp day. And it's just that, all right, this is fucking it. This is all the work I've done. It's time to put it here. Like, let's execute. Let's do all that sort of stuff. I think that's where you get the biggest spike in performance. Not so much that...
I think that's a skill as well.
Yeah, not so much that you've got this special... Like, oh, what's your peaking strategy? When did you hit your final deadlift? When did you... 48 hours and 36 minutes prior, I hit my final bench press single. Like, shut the fuck up.
I'm lucky enough.
It doesn't work that way.
I know you are too. I'm lucky enough... We've both been lucky enough to talk to, I would say, some of the world's best coaches in powerlifting. And if you ask them, you're like, hey man, what's your secret, man?
There is no secret.
What's your secret to peaking? And then they show you and you're like, fuck, that's what I'm already doing. Damn it. Come on, man, I need some shit.
There's nothing.
Give me it.
There's nothing. It's just the principles, follows the principles. The thing that Charlie, so our head powerlifting coach at Strength Culture, he says that your performance on the day is just an extrapolation of your training numbers. Don't expect that because you've done this slow, slight progression week to week to week, then you get to the peak and you're just going to get this big upward trend. It just doesn't work that way. What you've hit and how well you've executed in training will tell you where you're going to be. And yeah, there might be a very slight deviation up again because you've got other factors involved, psychological increases and the reduction in stress and fatigue. But it's an extrapolation of where you've been. You're not going to get this big inflection point. And
best case circumstance, you're going to have no fatigue, you're going to come in feeling great, and you're going to hit
your opener, smoke your opener.
You're going to hit maybe, some little PBs. That's great, like the PBs that you planned for. On the other side of that, you can definitely peak wrong and keep fatigue high, and then come into a comp and go backward.
And I would say always veer on the side of caution. Always do slightly less than what you think you probably need to be doing. Yeah.
And take into account external factors as we have just talked about.
Context dependent for sure. But yeah, I think it'll be good. We'll probably do some sort of a review, and I'm sure you'll see it all on social media anyway. This will be up before comp day, so you can suss this out prior.
We'll spend the 3 days uploading it here.
Yeah, this internet is the shittest internet I've ever seen.
We'll do more on this after, but quickly, plans for after. So I have put my hand up to do Pro Raw at 125 in March. And then if everything goes to plan, the new Warriors at Big Dogs, that's opened up at a
12 months away,
115 kilo 2 hour weigh in there with the best in the world in that. So that'll be exciting if everything continues on the trend. I'm really, really confident coming out of this comp, considering the prep that we've had, all this hurdles that we've jumped in the last 6 weeks to get here and to still be ahead of fantastic. It sets me up into this great mindset of going, hey, Pro Raw is going to be like legitimately as perfect as I can do at home. Everything's consistent and accounted for how I would usually prep, and I'm really excited for that. It's just it's the most confident I've been coming out of a comp, and most excited I've been to kind of move on and get to the next comp.
I think the next period will be good once you get home and put some good solid foundational work in, get the body weight up again, and I think people will be surprised at where I think we can end up. It'll be good. And obviously, I just want to shout out Tombro07 for flying out just to wrap your knees.
Thomas has handled me at comp for the last 4 years, and has always come no matter how much inconvenience to him. I didn't expect him to come to this.
Yeah, I'm
honestly, he's spending more time in the air to fly here and back than he is actually in America, to give you an idea of how much time he's putting out. So for him to come over and handle me when he's really not required to is shows how much of a good bloke he is.
No, definitely.
I'm actually really excited for him to get here.
He's going to be staying here in this big bed behind us. You two can spoon.
Yeah, there might be a bit of spoon.
Eat some ass the night before. It helps testosterone, mate. You'll be fine. I don't know. Got no idea.
Well, there you go. There's something else you can apply. So we'll leave it there.
Done.
It's a good note.
Yeah.
If you have any more questions about prep that you want me to... Oh, there was one prep. Somebody asked a question. No, it was about the trip review.
What was that?
Put it in there anyway. I'm going to chuck it in here. Fuck it. Somebody asked, would I use you as a meat shield against the knife attacker in New York?
Oh, yeah. Aaron Brewer asked.
Yeah, it's well, you were already on that side anyway, so I think I could have done a little bit of it.
Yeah, so you would. You'd sacrifice me to protect yourself. You're a dog. It's not Jordan Shallow anymore. It's you. You are the king dog.
That knife wasn't that big. You'll be right.
Fuck you, man. This is it. We're done.
Catch you later.
Fuck you.
If you have any more questions, hit us up.
Bye.